You have all been to trade shows. You also know that they take time and money. We have taken some time to focus on today's trade show and want to share with you how we can successfully bridge the gap between trade shows and sales. Today's trade show, in reality, is a selling function. This means it's not an advertising function, nor is it a public relations function. It's there to sell products. We compete in the environment of sales calls, making sales calls, the money it takes, the time it takes, and the complexity of you taking products to the field to your customers. Actually, the trade show environment competes with the selling environment. This means it competes on the level of a sales call in the field. McGraw-Hill has recently published research that indicates that the average sales call is costing about $200. And it usually takes between 4 and 6 calls to close a deal. The deal could take approximately 6 months or longer to culminate during that process of selling. The field sales call is based on bringing your products to a prospect. A purchasing cycle would look something like an unknown to a suspect, to a prospect, to a customer, to a user, to an endorser. An unknown is someone who we really don't know. We don't know their name, we don't know where they live, we don't know what they're currently doing. A suspect might be someone who reads an ad and circles a bingo card and requests for additional literature. A prospect is someone who says, I'm interested in considering the purchase of that product. We know what a customer is, someone who consistently and continues to do business with us. A user is someone who has purchased our product and will support that use to other products and to other people, which brings us to an endorser. That's a person who is a happy customer, uses our products, and isn't afraid to tell other people about it. Now, in the advertising environment, we provide you with bingo cards from ads. Those people are considered suspects as far as I'm concerned. Now, the trade show environment is different. If we take a look at the people coming into the show, they're unknowns. The exhibit's going to transform them to suspects and prospects. You're going to transform them from suspects to prospects to customers. The following presentation is called Bridging the Gap Between Trade Shows and Sales. I hope you enjoy it. It takes a light look at a very serious problem and a tremendous opportunity for us to maximize our effectiveness at trade shows. Basically, the trade show environment is one that is very confusing. You've been to shows, you've worked shows, and you've attended shows. After 15 or 20 minutes on the show floor, there's no question that it's a confusing environment. This presentation of Dependable Dan and his corporation is basically a rough, funny type story of how this particular company succeeded at utilizing the trade show. The opportunity that trade shows presents is basically unlimited. You can make the trade show pay, or you can be very disappointed by the amount of time and money that's spent preparing and getting to and from trade shows. Basically, it's up to us to be able to maximize the effectiveness of this unique selling environment. The environment is one where it can produce great sales, it can enable us to do competitive analysis, it can train salespeople, it can introduce and demonstrate new products, and basically, as mentioned, if we look at it in the selling environment, it can produce a great amount of response sales in less time with more efficiencies for less cost. And basically, that's what we're all interested in achieving. Some of the unique features of the trade show which must be understood before we can effectively evaluate how and the best ways to utilize the show is that customers call on salespeople. Now, in your traditional selling environment, you're out calling on customers, where at the trade show, you've got customers coming to us. We've got real products to present and demonstrate, unlike the literature you use in the field or try to carry the necessary equipment around to effectively demonstrate products. The trade show environment provides us with the opportunity to present and demonstrate real products. We have technical and management support available at your disposal to help you present a more perfected, professional approach to the customer's problems and needs. At any given trade show, you'd be able to introduce the prospect to perhaps the inventor of the instrument or the engineer who designed it. Certainly the management of the corporation, which can only add credibility to your particular stature in the business. Unlike your sales field call, you're out there alone. At the trade show, you've got everyone around to help you convince that customer that we're the corporation to do business with and you're the prospect's main resource for solving his problems. We control the environment. We design and produce some of the finest displays in the industry. We have carpets, lighting, everything needed to control that environment. Once again, unlike your selling situation where you're waiting in lobbies, you have to deal with secretaries, you have to deal with phones ringing and so forth and so on, we control this environment and we manage it. You have competition right next door. Basically, any prospect who is interested in evaluating and purchasing a product can make that decision in 3 days of a trade show floor environment as compared to months in the field of seeing various salesmen bringing in their products. It also means if we have products that are superior, then we will be able to favorably impress that prospect to come back to us because you know he's going to shop the floor. Most of the national trade shows we exhibit at present an entire market under one roof for only 3 days. The prospects have time to spend. They're not being interrupted by meetings. The phone isn't ringing that's going to interrupt them. They're attending these shows because of the conferences that are associated with them and because they're there to generate information which is going to help them perform their job better when they get back to their office. So they have time to spend. They're dedicated to come to that show and walk the entire show floor and gather information that's going to be pertinent to them for their selling and their products of what they're developing when they get back to their offices. We have a defined live market. This means when we go to a show like Electro or Westcon or NAB, we know who those people are, what businesses they're in, and what they intend to purchase. Not only that, we know how they use the products, what makes them work, and we get a good idea of who these people are so we can tailor our total presentation to meeting their needs. The goals of the company are simple. We're looking at a sales environment. We're not looking at an advertising environment. We basically are there to sell products. We're there to sell why prospects should consider doing business with Tektronix, why they should want to purchase our products and put them to use in their everyday environments. We're there to sell the benefits of doing business with Tektronix. We're there to be able to provide those people the reasons why they should consider doing business with us and you, the professional sales engineer, who is there to provide all the necessary information that will enable them to do a better job when they return to their offices. We want to sell features, the features of our products, the features of our corporation, everything to more or less establish the value of why they should seriously consider doing business with us. We need to generate quality leads. This means going through the purchasing cycle and understanding that when people come into the show, we really don't know who they are. They're unknowns to us. The exhibit is going to transform those people into prospects and suspects. Basically, when that person comes to our exhibit and wants to ask questions or learn more information about our product, he could be considered a prospect. We need to then transform that prospect into a customer by generating the hottest possible lead determining what this customer is interested in purchasing, when, and how much does he have. So one of our primary goals is to generate quality leads so your fellow salesman in the field can follow up on this prospect's interest and close the deal. We'll be communicating to these prospects in two general ways. One is called the graphics communications, and the other is the oral communications. The graphics communications, of course, takes the form of the exhibit. It's going to pre-screen these people to bring the hottest prospect possible to you, the salesman who's on booth duty. From that point on, you have your oral communications. That's your presentation. So let's go through this. And this will enable you to relax while you're on booth duty, knowing that the exhibit is going to work for you in developing the hottest prospect possible. Here's an example of how this corporation used their exhibit to communicate the graphic orientation to the prospect. It tells them who they are, what they're presenting, the benefits and features of a product, where the products are located, and who to talk to. Now this, in effect, is going to be able to transform these people who are walking down the aisle to look up and see Tektronix, and that they're interested in this particular product with these features and benefits. Now if they're not interested, they're going to walk on by. Well, in reality, that's okay, because we're really there to talk to those people who are prospects. In essence, something that might be difficult for us to really adhere to is if, for instance, we go to a show that has 50,000 attendees. Before that show, we might realize that only 10% or 5,000 of these attendees are really our prospects. That means we need to screen almost 45,000 people away from our exhibit to focus in on those prospects, because we really can't afford to spend this much time and money, and your time and money, talking to people who are not prospects. So the exhibit is going to perform this important task for you. And it does it by telling these people who we are, what products we're presenting, features and benefits about the products, the product itself, and who to talk to, you, the sales rep. The oral communications is your next form of screening these prospects. Now visualize yourself standing in the booth with someone standing looking at an instrument. You know he has been informed that he is in the Tektronix booth, so you're not going to get an answer like, well, who is this? You know he's been interested in a product because he's read the copy. Chances are he might even have his hands on an instrument. Now it's your job. What do we do next? The first form of communications is the greeting and introduction. Now this is where you've got to be careful. How many times have you asked someone, "Hi, I'm Peter from Beaverton. Can I help you?" Chances are the customer says, "No, I'm just looking, thank you." Well, let's try "How may I help you?" And if you time it properly, you might get a response which asks a question pertaining to the product. And there, you're right into a product presentation. So the greeting and introduction might sound like, "Hi, I'm Peter from Tektronix. How may I help you?" Knowing that he's in front of the instrument, I have a pretty good idea that his question might become related to that instrument. Or better yet, I might try, "Hi, you're looking at the 2465. It's a brand new instrument from Tektronix. Can you use one of these in your operation?" Now there, you're right into more of a product presentation, which is really where you need to be. Your next form of oral communications is probing and asking questions. You need to find out the interest the product has for the prospect. You need to find out his attitude toward the product and toward our corporation by probing and asking questions. You need to know his applications or his requirements. How do you intend to use it? What are your applications? You need to be able to provide that kind of data to him. This is where your technical representatives on duty might also come in handy. You could just picture the relationship between the engineer and the prospect who wants to purchase this product by having those two converse on why the product was designed and developed and how the engineer sees this product working within this customer's environment. We want to be able to determine when he needs it. Here what we're doing is we're generating lead qualification. What I'd like to suggest is that we use hot, warm, or cold, and take the lead card, and for you to be able to determine whether this prospect is a hot, warm, or cold lead. A cold lead is just a literature seeker. That's the kind of person you say, thank you very much, we'll send you the brochure, fill out the lead card, print your name on that lead card, and then deposit it. If it's a warm lead, that's any sale that's imminent, possibly in the next 6 months. That's the person who's currently evaluating the product. He's got to go back and make recommendations. The product needs to be specified into the purchasing agreement that they're considering. That needs to be determined as well. Simply write warm on that card. Once again, put your name on it. Now the hot one. That's the person who is currently considering the purchase immediately of an instrument. That needs immediate attention. And each evening, after the show closes, those leads will be separated and sent to the appropriate salesmen around the world for them to follow up. Just think for a moment, if one of our prospects once went to a competitor and he said, I am interested in purchasing this product, and they said, oh, no problem, fill out this bingo card and we'll mail the literature to you. Then he comes to us because we know it's a competitive environment, and we say, we'll be able to make arrangements for you immediately to get your local sales rep to come and talk to you about purchasing this product. Meanwhile, the competitor sends the literature perhaps 6 to 8 weeks, and there we are solving that customer's problems immediately because you determined through your probing and asking questions that he's a hot lead, and that we're going to follow up immediately and get that prospect the information he needs. That's what I mean by being able to say, we're going to transform unknowns to prospects. How much does he have? It's a tough question, but it's one we really need to ask. If someone is in the booth and he's trying to purchase a sophisticated piece of gear and he doesn't have the money, chances are we do have an instrument in the line that might be able to provide him what he needs at a less cost. That's something we need to determine. Once again, during your probing and asking questions, this information must be put down on that card, because from the show, this card is all we have to determine whether or not it was a good, bad, or indifferent investment, and something that we can use to gauge whether or not we should go next year. We want to know if he is the buying influence. This means, is he the decision maker, or do we need to provide additional information perhaps for a committee? If that's the case, once again, we need to write that down on the card. Don't be afraid to turn the card over, because the physical card gets sent to the salesman in the field. We'll make Xerox of it, put it on the mail list, and make sure that that person is added to our mail list. Your product presentation, the next phase of your presentation. There's a few things we really need to do here. First is we've got to solve the customer's problems. Most of the time, prospects come to shows wanting to solve problems. They're interested in learning about new products and techniques that can help them do their job in the field. Here, we need to be able to solve those problems. Don't forget, we've got management and technical support available. If you don't know the answer, ask for help. It'll really impress the customer. We have technical support. As mentioned, if you really get into trouble, and we do have the technical rep in the booth, bring him into the presentation. It'll add a tremendous amount of credibility to solving the customer's problem. Support favorable remarks. We've been in this business a long, long time. If someone says, oh yes, Tektronix, I've done business with them a long time, you can simply say, well good, that's why we're here. And these products today are just as good as the products we often sold years ago. So the credibility is here, and that's why we're glad you're here to talk to you more about our products. You want to show care and value in basically everything you do, from how you handle yourself to how you handle the instrument. The exhibit is going to present Tektronic's image from the day it was chartered to present time. And we are not alone any longer in competitive areas. We are getting competition in all areas. And this means we've got to be the best, and we have to demonstrate the best. This care and value is one major feature in being able to demonstrate that capability. You want to demonstrate the product's features, which relate to value because they relate to benefits. So if you're establishing a feature presentation, let the instrument get ready and then let the prospect perform that on the instrument itself. But we need to present the features of products which relate to benefits. If at all possible, let the prospect demonstrate the instrument himself. Basically, when's the last time you purchased a car without driving it? This is the same principle. Set the instrument up and then say, now when you push this button, this is what's going to happen, and in this amount of time, this is the caliber of answer you should get. Now why don't you go ahead and try it? This gets the prospect right into using the instrument. Suggest a challenge if you know you have the edge. We have many competitors, as mentioned, and chances are they're going to be on the floor just a few feet away from you. If you know you have the upper hand, you know he's going to go to a competitive booth after he leaves here. And chances are, as the show goes on, he'll come back to confirm things that we've told him. So if you know you have a silver bullet, use it, because he's going to leave our booth and he's going to go right to the competitor and ask them about their product. Chances are the prospect is going to be coming back from one of our competitors. Don't be surprised if they bring up an objection that's been developed by the competitor. Be ready to handle that. Then perhaps re-suggest the challenge. Closes. Obviously we're there. The corporation's objective was to sell products. Now we need to close. Let's ask for the order. I know we can't sell products on the show floor. However, we could say, this is what we're talking about, this is how much it costs, and this is basically what our delivery schedule is. Now I can have our local sales rep in your territory contact you in the next week to close this deal. Is that okay if we try to do that? That's the kind of close I'm talking about. You want to gather as much information as you possibly can. Write it down on the card, because it's going to end up in the hands of a fellow salesman. Chances are you're going to be at a show that might not have prospects from your territory in it. Chances are other salesmen in this corporation are going to be manning booths that might have your prospects at it. Handle these information gathering situations by providing all the information needed. Write down the specifics. I know I would love to call on my customer and say, I understand you went to the such and such show and you spoke to our fine salesman Frank. Well, I'm here to follow up on Frank's information on this particular product. Just think how the customer would feel about doing business with us with that kind of personal relationship. If possible, what we'd like to try to do is establish a meeting for the local salesman out of the territory where that particular prospect comes. Now, I know it's not really feasible at all times, but if you feel that this prospect is hot enough and he really needs a quote to meet a deadline, get right on that. We have telephones in the booth. You can simply call the office, make an appointment, and tell the prospect right then and there the name of his sales rep if he doesn't know, and establish a time when that sales rep will come in with a full quotation of the instruments that he's needed. Now, I think that kind of a presentation is just dynamite and really outdistance our competitors by listening to what the customer needs. The opportunity for the trade show environment is really tomorrow. Chances are you're going to be going out in that booth and you're going to be representing this corporation from the day of 1947 on. I've discussed with you briefly some of the elements that the trade show provide. It's an opportunity. And basically, we have an opportunity to take or not to. I challenge you to go out and do the best job you possibly can and maximize our trade show effectiveness by clearing those prospects, turning them into customers, and allowing us to do the best we can. Thank you.